So the first step is to figure out a way for the word adapter to tell if the word object has an image or not. So let's take a look at the word adapter file in Android Studio. Now here in the word adapter class, remember that we only want to execute these lines of code that set up the image view if there's an image for the word. In order to do this, we should create and expose another method in the word class, which would tell us if the word at the current position has an image. So I'm going to hop over to word class and define that method. So at the bottom of the word class, I'm going to create a public method called hasImage and have it return a Boolean value. So I want this method to return true if the word has an image and false if there is no image. And remember, it's important to always add some comments to help readers understand your code. So I'm going to add that here. Now, how should we determine if a word has an image? Well, let's scroll up to the top of the word class. And remember that we had this variable here, mImageResourceID, and we can check that. We'll note that it doesn't actually help us predict what image is referenced. However, in our case, we only need to use it to check whether or not there is a valid image. All right, so this is actually a really good use case for constant values. We can create a constant that represents the no image state. And I'm going to do that here. So I created a variable called no image provided. It's in all caps because it's a constant, and each word is separated by an underscore. Now I'm going to set this to a constant value of -1. And I use -1 because it's out of the range of all the possible valid resource IDs. Also notice that this constant is a private variable because we only need to use it within the word class. So with this constant created, I'm going to set the image variable to start at the no image state by default. So I'm going to set that equal to our no image constant here. Now as soon as this variable is updated to something else, we know that the word has an image. So this means that if there is an image in this constructor, this variable would be updated to something else, and we would know that the word has an image. And otherwise, if no image is provided, then the image resource ID will stay the same, so it will remain with the constant value -1. So let's go back down to the hasImage method, which we still need to complete. So in this method, we just need to check whether the image variable is equal or not equal to the no image provided constant, and that will look like this. And by the way, the exclamation mark followed by the equal sign means not equal to. So the result of this expression will be either true or false, and that value gets returned as the return value of this method. So I know the logic can be a little bit confusing, but I'd like you to try and follow along. So if the image resource variable is not equal to -1, then there is a valid image and the method should return true. However, if the image variable is equal to -1, then there is no image for this word and the method should return false. Now, we don't want to force the word adapter class to do the quality check because all it cares about is whether or not there is an image. So the word adapter doesn't need to know all the nitty-gritty details of how we used a constant in our word class to decide this. And hence, this is why all the logic is within the word class. All right, so good job so far. Now in the word class, we have exposed a public method called hasImage. So let's switch back over to the word adapter class and see how we can use this hasImage method on the word object. So now to this line of code that we're concerned with. Remember that we can use conditional logic, such as an if-else statement, so that our code behaves differently depending on whether or not the word has an image. So this if statement checks that if the current word has an image, then we can proceed as we did before and set the correct image from the word object onto the image view. And otherwise, if that's not true, we should hide the image view, and that will go in our else statement. So earlier, I showed you some code on how to change the visibility of a view when the app is running. So remember, using the setVisibility method, we can completely hide the image. So to do so, I'm going to set it to gone. So either through experimentation or reading the documentation on your own, I hope you found out that gone means that the view is hidden and doesn't take up any space in the layout. Now compare this with the invisible state, which means that the view is hidden but still takes up space in the layout. In our app, if we set the image view to be invisible, there would be a blank space left on the left-hand side of the list item. And we don't want that. So instead, we set the image view to gone so that it hides it completely. Here I'm going to add some comments describing what this line of code does. Now back in the if statement, we need to be extra explicit in our code and set the visibility to be visible if we do have an image. So we do this because views get reused. So if the view was previously hidden, we want to make sure that it's made visible again when we set a new image on the image view. All right, there were a lot of changes. Let's test it on our device now and see what happened. All right, so first testing in phrases. All right, that looks good. No images. Now let's try numbers. Nice. Images. Family members. Cool, got those cute faces there. And then colors. Nice, got that nice spectrum. So perfect, so all our categories are functioning as we hoped. So going back to the quiz, let's answer these two questions. So for the phrases list item, the image view needs to be gone because we want to hide it and we don't want to take up any space in the layout. That way, the two text views can shift all the way to the left. Now for all the other list items, the image view needs to be set to visible so that the user can see it. So this reflects what we did in our code and our app looks the way we want it to. So really great job on this very challenging quiz.